Hi, everybody. It's me, Mr. Pete's again. So we are on day two of working on our famous portrait project. And here I have my photo of 11 from the show um, Stranger Things. And so what we're going to do is we're going to only work on the shape of the head, the hair, and if you see any kind of clothing, like just a little bit of the clothing on their shoulders and that sort of thing. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to take my picture, I'm going to highlight it, and I'm going to drag this over to the left side. Okay, and then I can kind of move over a little bit. The reason why I want to do that is because I want this off to the side. Once we trace those shapes using the polyline tool, we're going to drag it over to the page. So you'll have your photo reference over here, and then you'll have your illustration that's going to be right here on the page. And so I'm going to go ahead and click on my line, and I'm going to choose polyline. All right, and then the first thing I want to do is I just want to kind of use the polyline to generally trace wherever I see her head and her neck. All right, and you're going to kind of want to do the same thing, and then this hairline right here. So I'll kind of start right here, and then remember what I said with the polyline tool. You want to really keep it as blocky as you can. You don't want it to be too perfect. Do you see how I'm really kind of separating these shapes, and it's I'm separating it by a good distance from each other. I'm not keeping them really really close. One of the issues that I saw when you guys were working on the New Jersey image is that you were using too many lines to create just the one shape. The whole idea here is you want to use one continuous line. You see how my line is just one continuous line, and it hasn't broken. If yours happens to break, then you're going to have to redraw it. Now notice I'm coming towards the end here, and again it kind of snaps in place like that. So I'm going to let it snap in place and click, and then it creates this shape. All right, it does look kind of weird right now, but that's okay. We're going to take that shape by clicking the arrow tool, and I'm going to drag this my onto my page. Okay, good. So now I'm going to click back at the picture, and the next thing we're going to do is we're going to use the polyline tool again. Make sure that's highlighted, and we're going to trace her hair. Okay, so again, I'm just using these sort of this blocky shape. This is sort of the style that I'm looking for, and it doesn't have to be absolutely perfect, but you want to get sort of the general shape of the hair. The more details that we add to this, the better it will look. It's always going to start off looking really strange. But notice how I'm just tracing the hair, and I'm going up to the hairline again, just like this. And it so almost seems like I'm retracing the head again. But I'm just trying to maintain the shape of the hair. All right, and again, it's going to kind of look really blocky. Now, on my image, you could see that the top of her head is kind of cropped. So I'm going to sort of invent that. I know that her head is going to kind of end like right about here. And then I'm going to do that same thing. Notice again, it's one continuous line, and then I'm going to let it snap right into place there. Click that. And then I'm going to take my arrow tool, and I'm going to drag that onto my image. Okay, so now it does look really strange, but I do have the shape of the hair and the shape of the face. Now the last thing we're going to do is I want to do the shape of the clothes. So because there's this shoulder over here and then it's kind of cut off and then this shoulder, I'm going to keep those as two different shapes. So I'm kind of tracing my hairline like this, and I am just going ahead and carving out this general shape of this shoulder. Again, I'm going to let it snap, and then I'm going to take my arrow tool, and drag it over and try to match it as best as you can. It doesn't have to be super perfect, but just try to match it up as best you can. Because the thing is, you can go back into that shape and you can mess with it later. All right, and then I'm going to do the other shoulder. So I have my polyline tool. I'm going to come over, you know what, I'm going to move this over just a smidge. Okay, and then I'm going to get my polyline tool again. And I'm going to go ahead and start to outline this shoulder and this part of her shirt as well. And I'm just kind of tracing the edge of that photograph too. And it kind of snaps again, it snaps right there, and I'll click, and now I have all those shapes. Click the arrow tool and bring it over to the other side. Now again, it doesn't look absolutely perfect, and that's okay, because I can fill these shapes in later. What I want to do now is I want to do two things. I want to try to match her skin tone. Now, I'm not just going to look for any kind of peach color. I want to try and match this as close to the color that I see here, which is sort of like a warmish kind of brownish orangey color. So I'm going to go to my fill color, and I think it would be something more like that. I mean, we can fix that later on. Then I want to go over to the border, and I'm going to click transparent. It's really important that you make that border transparent. Okay, now I'm going to click her hair. I'm going to do the same thing. She's a brunette, so her hair is very dark. I'm going to choose this color. Nope, that looks very purple, so I'm going to choose something more on the brown. There, that's something like that. I wish I could go a little bit darker. And then make sure I go over to my, I want to make sure I go over to the, right here, the border color. Click that and make sure that is transparent. Okay, if I click off, you'll see that this part disappears, but once I click that shape again, it all appears. All right, and then she's wearing flannel, so I'll put those details back in later, but I want to just get the real general color here. So I'm going to click this, and it's sort of like maybe like this color. No, not that color. Maybe a little bit darker. We'll kind of start with a darkish purple. It's a little bit more gray than that. All right, and then I want to do the same thing here. And another thing that I can do is I can actually, because I want these two things to be the same color, I can click this. I can hold down the shift key and then click the other shape, and then it will highlight both these shapes. So then I would be able to manipulate the color, both of them change at the same time. And then I go to my border, make it transparent, okay? And that is all I want you to do. Now again, it doesn't look wonderful right now, but we're just starting off with the real basic shapes. And so I want you to have your picture off to the side, and I want you to have your illustration onto your page. And if you think that it's slightly off, you can actually just take the arrow tool, highlight everything, and then just move it over. So it's really not that big of a deal, even if it's slightly off the page. All right, once you get to this point, please do not continue, because I want to continue doing this with you guys. So this is all I want you to do today. I just want you to do the shape of the face and neck, the shape of the hair, and the shape of the clothing. That's all I'm looking for. And then when you're done, please do not turn this in, because I'm still able to see this on my end. You don't have to turn it in, because you're going to have to rework on it each day this week. The only time that you turn it in is when you are completely done with the project, and that's later on this week. So please do not turn this in. Just leave this the way it is. All right, and I will be around to help you guys, so please ask me questions. If you need help with anything, just comment or email me. You know where I'm at. All right, I'll see you guys later.